Basically, in a summary, the digital world will become more and more appealing for us, and the nature of the real world will have a hard time competing, and we'll spend more and more time in these digital worlds. This kind of future is, of course, scary for many people. I mean, when I tell a bit of this to my mom, she doesn't want to even listen to it. It's such something so distant and so alien and so disturbing. And admittedly, it's not only the great stuff. So let's start, that's because of people above a certain age especially will not want such a future. At least they think that they will not want it. So that's why let's start with the huge disadvantages or dangers that could be waiting for us. So one of the dangers that I see is that if you spend so much time in a digital world, you might actually incline to neglect your body. I mean, you might the whole time not hardly move in that digital world. Your body is, human bodies over generations might really weaken. That's one thing. I mean, human bodies have weakened even over the past centuries, right? That's normal, evolution. But if we go all digital, think about what will happen. How will our bodies will look like in a couple of 100 years? That's the evolutionary part. But also, currently we are out there full of bacteria, viruses. Our body is, a part of nature. And we can also adapt very well to sicknesses and so on. But if we spend most of our time in some, in more or less isolation in our homes, this digital world, it's quite possible that our body will be too weak. I mean, inevitably, the virus and bacteria might still find their way to us because we'll still need that food and so on. And then we might be too weak to fight it because our body, we're not out there, right? So weak bodies, I see, could be a huge problem for humanity. Then another thing, population decline. Already we see that currently, everyone is saying that the world, we are 8 billion, will be 11 billion, huge problem. However, we already know that from 250 on, the population will start decreasing even, perhaps, because we just don't have enough children, especially in the, more richer countries. And it's a phenomenon that, developing countries are also catching up. So even now, many countries have struggled to have enough kids. And if most of our time is spent in such digital worlds, and even our relationships with our partners become more and more digital, if even sex is possible digitally, I fear that it will be very difficult to keep our population levels. Okay, you might argue that, we don't need billions of people, but we could come to a point that we have way too few humans. So this is really a realistic fear that I have. That, and plus also, of course, I don't even go into the, family structures and so on. It will be a completely different society. So let's put that aside. But reproduction, that is really very important for human survival, might be really at stake here. And another problem, if everyone caves in digitally, not everyone, but I'm talking about most of humanity, then it is also, people are a bit in danger from, I would say, tyrants or dictators. Okay, so most of your is digital, but there's still a physical world out there, infrastructure. Some people would still need to organize our food, our energy, electricity, cleaning, and so on. It will be much less than today, but there will be still a physical world out there. And if the wrong people control that physical world, and most of the people but living in their silos at home, it will be much easy actually to have dictatorship and tyrants getting into power because the people will not be able to actually resist. They will be too, in their digital worlds because, make no mistake, everything will be digital, but still the one who controls the physical world will control that digital world as well, because at the very least they can just stop the electricity and stop the food, because you can eat great taste digitally, but you still need nutrition to survive. So these are some of the dangers that I see that are coming if we go full digital. Plus another topic is that even if we are in our safe homes, natural disasters can still hit us. Or a comet or some meteor might come to the world. We might need to then prepare. And then the question is, people who are so living in their digital worlds, Will we really have the resilience to really do something very physical, maybe move to another planet even? These kind of things, I really see some dangers in completely withdrawing from nature. Good, these are the dangers. But what about the opportunities? There are also huge advantages with this. Potentially the biggest advantage of this new digital life is that our impact on the environment will decrease dramatically. Currently, obviously, we have a huge footprint, right? We are quite a lot of us, and the Earth has suffered quite a lot, and we are quite a bit afraid about our future, that we will be destroying the planet we are living in. But once you're at home, living your digital life, you will even consume much less food. You will just need some nutrition, but most people eat quite for fun and cool stuff and so on. All that lifestyle eating will not be needed. You can very efficiently deliver food, some nutrition packages home, and to taste good taste stuff you can do digitally. Clothes, travel. Why do you need to travel if you can just beam yourself to a digitally created beach or capital of a country? Today, already in the next phase, you can travel a bit to, let's say, Rome and so on, but it's not the same. Once you can physically feel that place, you don't need to go there physically anymore. So that's why travel will decrease. Basically, your footprint, the materials that you need, or also home. Why do you need huge homes? You can just have the minimal home and then in your mind be in an incredible huge place, because there is no limit to that. So our footprint will decrease dramatically. Earth will be much more manageable resource, right? Basically, you could say that all our environmental problems will disappear, except, of course, energy. We will need more energy than before. But if we can solve that with renewable energy and also maybe nuclear, if we can solve the energy problem, we will solve also the environmental problem, because humans will be a much less drag on the environment. So this is an incredible advantage, especially if you are worried about the world, Earth coming to an end kind of thing. Another topic is poverty. Because exactly we don't need the world that much anymore, and food is becoming less of a lifestyle thing, just some nutrition, it will be much easier to feed the world. I'm talking about absolute poverty, not relative, is a different topic. But you also housing. Housing is very expensive. But in this new world, it doesn't matter where you are. Basically, your body can be in some little corner. You just need electricity, connection to the metaverse, and then you can be anywhere. So expensive housing will be also a topic of the past. So food, travel you will not need, and so on. This means that the poverty we know today, hungry people who have a problem with housing, that kind of thing will be something of the past. That is a huge advantage. Also, it's not only this is the basic poverty level, but also the life you live. Because it's digital, as I said before, you can live in a castle. So you're a really poor person in society. This kind of class things will already still exist, unfortunately, because we'll make them in the digital world. But me, a poor person, can live in my castle, can have an incredible, probably cars will not exist, but whatever vehicle. I can have an incredible looking partner, might be probably a real person, which looks completely different, but to me she will look like a film star, right? I will be able to fly, I'll beam myself to the greatest travel locations, and I'm still poor, because there is no extra cost for this. Obviously, there will be prestige objects that I will not be able to buy, because we will create new prestige objects. That's what humans do. We want to be better than others. So we'll just create some fake prestige objects. We will not get something and so on. We'll still feel bad. There will be relative poverty. We will still have, movements that talk about inequality. So inequality will never go down. We will always have it. But, the living levels, just like our living level is much, much better than 100 years ago, in this future, even the poor will have access to incredible stuff. So this is a bit some of the advantages of this new world. Environment and what kind of a life the poor people can have. These two problems, and these are the biggest problem of today of humanity. The digital world, this new digital future, will completely solve these problems. I mean, when I say completely, almost solve it, or let's say potentially. So this digital future holds an incredible promise for humanity. Basically, the limitation of nature doesn't exist for us anymore. Whatever we dream, we can make it happen, at least in this digital world. And that's why it will be completely impossible. Although the dangers are there, but we will not be able to stop people from actually spending most of their time in these digital worlds. Imagine people who spend 7, 9, 11 hours in front of these screens. You cannot stop them once they have this really, extremely experienced, rich digital world. So I think it will be futile try to stop them. Yet I also believe that it would be extremely dangerous if we completely disregard the nature, disregard our physical world. So what will we do? It is a difficult task, but I think we can, if we start early for the next generations, if we sensibilize the populations, we can at least make them live a bit also in the physical world. I think the augmented reality especially could help us there. Augmented reality is, you project some digital stuff on the physical environment. So you enrich the environment. Some people think that that will anyway be our future. I don't believe so. I believe in the beginning it will be popular perhaps, but as the digital world becomes stronger, it will not be appealing anymore on its own. However, if we, as a humanity side, that we also show people the dangers of going completely withdrawing from the physical world, I think then augmented reality can have a better chance, because I see that the real physical world will have a hard time, as I said, competing with this digital world. Augmented reality could at least help making the nature physical world a bit more interesting, and we will have to offer this to the next generations. So I personally think that we have to, educate the next generation of the dangers and also support augmented reality technology so that the physical world has at least a minimal appeal for humanity. Plus, as I said, education will be part of this effort. And it is extremely important we do this consciously, without just, conservative approach of, the future is dangerous and we have to stop technologies. But we have to use technology, again, to find a good solution, and also mitigate the dangers without sacrificing the incredible opportunities, which is anyway futile. So yeah, basically these are some of my thoughts about the future. I believe that in one way or another, we are on a path which is quite predetermined. It's a journey to a digital world, a journey to a man-made world, a journey, you could argue, good or bad, away from nature, away to a more man-made world, a natural inspired, but completely man-made digital world. And I believe that, like everything, there is no perfection. There are some opportunities, there are some dangers, and it's our duty to make the best out of it. That's what I believe.